Hi, I'm Steve. If you're like me and you like to build EPS boards out of block foam in your backyard, Aku can help you in a couple of ways. You can create profiles for hot wiring your blanks. You can create templates to create your outline curves. If you're pretty clever, you can even create templates to create your rail bands. But one of the problems you're going to have is bottom curves.
You're probably going to want to have flat in the nose, and then you're going to want it to transition to a single concave under your front foot. And then just ahead of the fins, you probably want a double concave, and then you'll want that transitioning into a V behind the fins.
Solve that problem, I came up with this invention here, which I don't have a name for. So if you can think of a good one, put it in the comments below. It's basically a sanding board which is attached to a block which has a contour of your bottom shaped into it. So when you're pulling this across the blank, the shape of your contour is going, the shape of your concave is going to be controlled by the block, and the depth of your concave is going to be controlled by your stringer profile and your rail profile. So what we're going to do now is have a look at how to set up your AkuShaper files so you can make one of these.
We're going to design our slices so we can create a template for our contour block. I need basically 3 slices to do this. I'm going to do the single concave, which is going to be under my front foot about here. I've got the double concave between the fins, and I've got a slight rolled V behind the back fin. So probably the easiest one to start with is going to be the one between the fins, because that includes the curves for the other two. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a slice between the fins, which is about 300mm from the tail, and then I want to establish the deepest point for the concave for the single and the double. So if I look at my outline here, I basically want my deepest point to be around where the fins are, so around here roughly. So that looks like, if I look at my measurements, it's about 125 from the stringer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of that horizontal line. I'm going to go into slices. I'm going to add a guide point about 125 in from the stringer. So I go add guide. Just make sure that you've got show guides turned on. Yep, so I'm going to go add guide, and I'm going to click on here at about 125, which is about there. And I can edit the position of that more exactly. I'll just delete that one. So I'll make that 125. Now the depth at this point, I think I'm going to be about, for the double concave, probably needs to be about 2mm. You don't want to go too extreme here. So we'll go 2mm, close. Okay, now when I come to edit my slice here, I need to add in firstly, I'm just going to tweak this so it doesn't have so much tuck. So we're going to go that's looking a bit better, maybe a bit less. Okay, so if we have a look here, I'll just zoom in. the lowest point of my concave is at 125. I want to have my rail tuck at 0, so I'll just check that. Oh, that's pretty good. Yep. Okay. So now that I've got the double, I'll now add in the single. So what we'll do here is slices. Oh, actually, let's just see where the wide point is. So that's at 877. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to add a slice there. 877. Okay. Now, Aku would have copied the nearest slice, which would be this one here. So this isn't how I want the profile to be for this part of the board. So I mean, what I'll be doing is putting in quite a lot of tuck here. In fact, I could even go and make that continuous. And that's, now I'm going to hold down the shift key and select my previous slice, and I'm going to drop the rail down, because what I'm going to try and do here is match these two curves so that they're parallel at the deepest point, parallel until the deepest point. So if we have a look at this one, you'll have to go back and forth between the two of them. What you're trying to do is line these two, the curves on the outside of the single and the double have to be exactly the same. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do here. So if I select this one and double here, I can see that it's not too bad. Getting closer. Okay, so how deep are we? Okay, so 5.3, that's acceptable. If I go here, I'm going to move this in a little bit. I want a bit more tuck, and I'm going to move that out there. That's better. So that's a bit too much. I only want about 5, so I'm going to go up to here. 5. Okay, that's cool. And we want the deepest point to be this is my deepest point, so this would be about here. Okay, not bad. These two lines aren't quite parallel. This one, I'm going to go just up a little bit here. And in my, get a bit more curve through there. Same thing again. Let's try that, sorry, let's do that again. It's in box. Shift. That's not too bad. I've got a little bit too much tuck there, so I'm going to flatten that out a bit. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna. Oh, I may as well. Let's fix this rail up. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look at our bottom. So now I've got my concave should be crossing over about the point of the fin position, which is around here. So next we're going to add in our V, and then I'm going to tweak these two. So a new slice, so the back of the V is going to be about 85, I think. Sorry, the back of the back fin. And if I hold down Shift key here, actually, yep, move this up to here, just zoom in a bit. And I don't want to have any tuck here, or very minimal tuck. Okay, so let's have a look at the bottom. So now I've got a little bit of V through here. This is our rail line, and then here the fins are, and then we've got our single concave running through here. That looks pretty sweet. Okay, so the next step is to check that. So what we can do is export PDF. I'm just going to do a test, so I have to put, and I'm going to call that test slices 2. So there's the export from Aku, which I've opened up in Inkscape. I'm going to just see what these look like. Laid over each other. Okay, that's pretty good. So what we've got here is this line here includes a single, double, and a V. So here's the combined curves. You can see the pink line represents the contour that we're going to make our routing template out of. We're going to place a routing template on a block of wood, soft wood like pine. Then we're going to route it down to the contour of the double and single, and then we're going to take that contour block and glue it to a sanding board. Okay, now we're going to need a slot in the bottom of the board to constrain the depth of the concave as we pull the tool across it. To do this, I took the stringer and attached it to the foam block and used it as a template for my router. You can use a laminate trimmer or whatever, and you want to cut about 10 mil into the foam. And you do this on both sides, obviously, and then you'll stick them together. Cut your outline, and you're ready for the next stage. Okay, so here we've got our guide slot cut. I've glued the blank up with the stringer, and I've taped on top of the stringer inside the guide slot. Obviously the slot is deeper than the foam on either side of it. It's the deepest point of our concave. So it's going to be the limit of the sanding block's cutting. And the other limit will be the rails, which I've taped up here as well. So I've just marked the tuck. I haven't cut the tuck yet. I've just marked it and taped it. You could do it either way. I don't think there's
I don't really have a preference. I don't think one way's better than the other. So when you make your block, so you're going to need to attach sandpaper to it. Now, this is quite a wide area to be dragging sandpaper across, so you don't need a lot of sandpaper here. You want this relatively narrow so you can pull it across. I've taped up the middle part here, so that's going to slide across the tape in the slot. Okay, so I'm going to start sanding the concaves in. I'm using 80 grit on this. That's about as coarse as you can go without tearing the beads out. That's a disadvantage with block foam. It's not that well fused. I mean, I've got some tear outs along this edge here, but 80 grit will, cut it down reasonably quickly without pulling great holes in it. So let's get into it. So starting here, we're dead flat. There's no concave here. So as you can see, there's no groove, and the board's dead flat. And then as we pull along the center, we starting to cut the foam either side. It's cutting where the stiffest part of the board is, which is here. You're going to probably have to jam your finger in there to make sure that you get the deep cut when you start cutting in here, otherwise the foam's going to push the board that up. It's basically going to push this up into here and create a double concave. We don't want it, so you want to use your fingers there to hold that down. And another option, instead of using your finger to hold this down, make sure the stringer doesn't push it up while you're doing the single, is you can just get a piece of timber that's the same thickness as the depth of your concave and just jam it in there, and that'll hold that down while you're pushing, and you don't have to use your finger. Okay, so as you're sanding through here, you'll probably wear the tape down as you get a bit of friction with the two surfaces of the tape rubbing together. That's no big deal, just tear the tape off and put down a fresh one. I'm almost done here, so I'm just going to keep going, and then we'll tackle the double concave at the back and the V. Okay, so now I've got the single concave pretty good, so I'm going to tackle the double concave through here and the V out of the tail. So to do that, I'm just going to take this little chock out. So now the sanding block is going to get pulled up into the stringer, and I'll get like a little double concave and a little V out the back. Okay, so you'll know you've finished cutting your contours when basically the sandpaper stops cutting and the block starts sliding across the tape on the rails and in the centre of the board. So that's the stage I'm at now, and what I've got is basically flat at the entry point. If I go back to my wide point, I've got a single concave. I go back here, it's going into a double. Just by the fins, it's a double, a very, very slight V. And then back at the tail of the board, we've got a slight V.